Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another video. So today it's going to be another video in my little house series, and today we're going to be talking about snagging. So if you've moved into a new build property, if you're looking at buying a new build, then you might have heard of snagging, snag reports, professional snaggers and all that kind of thing. So as you might know, I've just moved into a new build property, and before we started this whole process I had no idea what snagging was. I'd never heard of anything like that before. It was completely new to me. However, we've now bought the house, we've had snags, we've had them sorted, and I feel like I'm pretty clued up on it now. So in this video I thought I would share with you what snagging is, you know, what kind of snags you can find in a house, how you go about getting them fixed, how you report them, whether a professional snagging report is worth it, if it's useful, and I'll also say a little bit about like our kind of snags and whether they got fixed or not. And yeah, hopefully you'll find this useful. So just before we dive into this video, please give it a thumbs up and also hit subscribe if you do like this kind of content, if you find it helpful, and let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want me to talk about in the whole house buying process, and I'll be happy to do a video on that as well. So I've already done a video talking about why we bought a new build property and kind of my experience with that, so I'll link that here if you want to check that out. And I've also done an empty house tour if you fancy having a nosy around my house, and I'll also link that here. Okay, so first of all, what is snagging? So snags are basically issues that you have with your house when you move in or after living in it for a little while. You notice things that just aren't right. It could be as small as a chip on the wall, you know, a mark on the door, or it could be something as big as your plumbing system doesn't work and you can't flush the toilet. Now if you do Google snagging and snags in new build properties, you do see the horror stories. So you'll see things like where someone's roof has caved in or the showers leaked and flooded the whole house, but less often you actually see and hear about the smaller snags, which most people will have. So when you are buying a new build property, as part of the build process, just before it's signed off, the site manager will come round and he will do a full snag of the property himself, where he'll look out for any issues which they can fix before you actually move in. So a lot of these are likely to be, you know, if your doors are catching, if they haven't been shaved at the bottom so they're just catching on your carpet, you know, check if all the door handles, check that the windows open and close, check that there's no marks anywhere, things like that. And that's usually done before you get your keys. And then when you get the keys and you enter the property, then it's up to you to have a look for any more snags. Now usually if you do find some snags, depending on your developer, there are different time limits for when you have to report them by. Usually you have at least the first 7 days to look around your house and make a note of any snags, and then pass this list to the developer, and they will then arrange a time for people to come around and fix various snags. Now some things will be noticeable straight away, so if there are marks on the walls or anything like that, obviously you can see that before you've actually lived in the property, but sometimes the snags you won't know about until you've actually lived in the property and, you know, used the shower, flushed the toilet, put the washer on, and then, you know, if there are any leaks or anything like that, that's when you'll obviously find them. So depending on the developer as well, you do have a warranty. So if anything does go wrong in those first however many years or months or whatever the warranty may be, then they will come around and fix it for you. And then you do also have a warranty with the NHBC, which is 10 years. So if anything structural does go wrong in that 10-year period, then you are covered with them as well, and they will fix that as well. So fingers crossed that won't happen, but it is there just in case. Now at the end of the day, the new house is built by a team of humans, and humans can make errors. So no house will be absolutely perfect when you move in. If it is perfect, then you are incredibly lucky. There will always be little snags. Now you might be lucky in that they just are little snags, and you know, they don't really make a difference to the quality of the property. They don't make a difference to your life really. You know, if you've got a couple of dents on the ceiling or things are just over painted slightly, you know, there's a drop of paint on the floor or something like that, you know, there's going to be a cabinet there so you're not even going to see it. Things like that, you know, does it really matter? I don't know. I think it just depends, but obviously you do want to move into the house and be able to use it as a house. You know, you've spent a lot of money on this, you've saved up, you've gone through the whole mortgage process and new build house buying process. You want a perfect house. So a lot of people, when they move in, they just go around and look for snags themselves, but I mean, we aren't experts, so they do have people who are professional snaggers who you can pay for, and they will come and do a full inspection of your property and identify any snags. I feel like I have a good eye for things, so I would be able to spot certain things which didn't look right, but when it comes down to building a property, I'm not a house builder. So we did actually pay for a professional snagger to come and snag the property and see what they could find. Now there is a bit of controversy about whether you should pay for a snagger or you should just do it yourself, you know, because the snaggers will find snags, you know, that's what they're paid for. They will identify the snags, and a lot of them do identify a lot of snags, and some snags are just tiny things that really don't matter. They don't really make a difference at all, but they will identify them and put them on a report. So these snaggers, they can be quite expensive. We went with a company called House Scan. I will link them down below. They were really good. So they had different types of packages for the inspection, so someone could literally just come and do the inspection. There was one where they do the inspection, but then they'd also have like a thermal imaging camera where they can check if there's any parts of the property which is letting heat out or letting cold in, if there's any drafts or anything like that, and that will all be identified on this scan. There are also some companies who use like drones, so they send the drone up above the house and they can inspect the roof as well. There are quite fancy ways of doing this now, but it just depends what you want and how bothered you are about particular snags. I mean, I feel like if there was anything majorly wrong, you'd kind of notice, but it's the smaller things that you might not notice, that you might not be aware of as well. So we did a bit of research and thought, we'll just pay for a snagger. They can come and do the full check. They can identify every dint on the wall, anything that's wrong that we don't know about either. I mean, I'm not going to be crawling in the loft and seeing if everything's in place up there, but they did that. And with thermal imaging as well, you know, you can stand by a window and just put your hand there and be like, is this drafty? But you don't know if it's letting minuscule amounts of air in and out. That's going to actually make a difference. And they obviously can check if everything is fitted properly and if everything works. So like I said, we did pay for a snagger. We paid for the gold package, which I'll show you what's included here. And in that we also got the thermal imaging review, which was quite interesting. So our snagger identified about 200 snags, which sounds quite a lot, but it's pretty average for a snag report. Because like I said, they will identify every single tiny thing. So if there's a dot on the wall, it's on the report. Now, luckily for us, a lot of those snags were just tiny things. There were only a couple of things which, you know, would have actually made a difference. So there were lots of over painting. So there's bits where there's paint on the door handles, like the tops of the doors aren't painted. And there's quite a lot of like nail pops. Now, I didn't know what these were. It just looks like little circular marks on the wall, and it's just where the nail is coming through the plasterboard. So there's quite a lot of those that seem to be cropping up here and there. But yeah, a lot of these I'm not too bothered about. Obviously where the plaster isn't right and where the paint isn't right, that can easily be fixed. I was more interested in if there was anything going to be majorly wrong with the property, if it wasn't built right or anything like that. So with the thermal imaging scan, she did actually identify that the French doors were letting a little bit of air in. So it's not massively noticeable, but on this thermal scan, I'll put a picture here so you can see it. It does look pretty cool. You can see from that it was letting air in at the bottom, and also one of the trickle vents as well. And then also in this room here, the trickle vent in this one is letting a bit of air in as well. So I'm really glad that she identified that. I mean, from this one I can tell that this one lets it in because it whistles and it's really annoying. But when it's windy, like, I can't film in here because it's so noisy. But other than that, that was the main problem really, just letting a bit of air in. There were little things like the windowsills outside are scratched, some of the windows are scratched as well, but I mean, we are still living on a building site. They're literally building houses opposite my house right now, so the car is filthy, the front of the house is filthy, and you know, that's just how it is because we've moved into a building site really. So, you know, things like the scratches and stuff are kind of expected. But our developer has been really good. So we've moved into a Barrett Homes property, and the Barretts have been really good about the snags. Obviously at first they said, you know, you don't need a snag report doing, they will snag the property, but I'm not actually sure if they did do the snags, because we did identify a couple of little things when we did like the home tour before we moved in, and we noticed that those tiny little things hadn't been fixed. But anyway, we did go ahead with the full professional snag. Then I just passed that snag report to the site manager, and he came round. He spent a couple of hours in the house with us. We were just going through everything, chatting about what we wanted changing, and honestly they've been amazing so far. So where the windows and windowsills are scratched, you know, they've just said wait until the building work is over and we'll just replace the windows. Okay, cool. Any dints or anything on the wall, they're going to get the plaster around. They're going to re-stretch the carpet just to make it fit nicer. But the tiniest thing is like no trouble for this site team. It's been amazing so far. And the snag, which was the thermal imaging, the site manager said he's going to come and reseal the bottom of the door. We're also going to get the handles and everything replaced and the trickle vents replaced as well. So everything has been great so far. So I think we've been quite lucky in that we've not had any major snags so far. Whether more snags will pop up in the first couple of years of us living here, then you know that might happen, and if it does happen then we'll be covered and they'll just come around and fix it. So obviously if we hadn't have paid for this snag report, then you know we would have identified like the nail pops in the walls, scratches on the windows eventually, you know, little marks on the windowsills and stuff like that, but we probably wouldn't have identified the cold air or the hot air escaping, or whichever way around it is, unless we were actually standing next to the door for a while it was windy. Obviously we did notice the whistling in this room, so that's going to be changed. But even though they didn't identify anything major, I have peace of mind now that a professional snagger has been round and has checked everything out, and everything seems fine. So the snagger who actually came round, she was a site manager on a site like this for 10 years, so she said she had quite high expectations for the properties that she would live in. And she said she was quite happy with this property. So I mean, you know, you take it with a pinch of salt, but I'm happy with that answer. Now when it comes to doing the snagging, you don't have to do it before you move in. So developers generally don't let you do it before you've got the keys, so it's after you've received the keys. And if you're moving in on that same day, then obviously all of your furniture and belongings will be in the house when the snagger comes, or if you're choosing to snag the property yourself. Luckily we had a week where we still had the rental property and we also had this property, so we moved things over slowly. So we booked the snagger to come on the Tuesday, so the house was completely empty, so you could literally see everything, which was preferable for us because I didn't really want to be following around into the rooms and moving furniture. And obviously with COVID and everything, I had to stay on a different floor to her at all times, and we had the windows open and everything. So yeah, so they were able to snag the property whilst it was completely empty, which is probably better so they can actually see everything. But you don't have to have it completely empty if you've moved in, if all of your stuff's here in boxes and or just everywhere, very messy like it is when you move house. They can still snag the property then. And it doesn't just have to be a new build property, so if you are just moving into another property that is already in existence, you can still snag the property yourself, or you can get a professional snagger in as well. So for me, I think it just gave me peace of mind that my house wasn't going to fall down, because there's so many bad reviews for new build properties, and you know, things that can go wrong. There are horror stories online, but at the end of the day I really like this house, and this is the one that we chose, and this is where we want to live. So very happy with the house, happy with the minimal snags and how they've been dealt with so far. Honestly, we can't fault the site team, they've been amazing. When it comes to actually choosing a professional snagger, if you do want to use a professional snagger, we just basically googled snagger and professional snagger report, because we had no idea. Obviously we've not done this before, we don't know anyone else who's done this before, so we just started with Google, like most people will do. And then we just went through all the different websites, we looked at what people were offering, we looked at the prices, and we looked at the reviews. And obviously you go on like Trustpilot and various other websites to check the reviews as well. And we found this one, so this is House Scan, like I said, and they had really good reviews, and yeah, very highly recommended. And they did the whole country as well, so obviously you can get snaggers who just focus on a particular area, you can get snaggers who do the whole country. So yeah, I would just recommend checking out the reviews and just seeing which is available when you are actually going to be moving, and yeah, see what they offer. If you don't feel like you need your thermal imaging or your drones imaging and stuff like that, then you know, you can get it a little bit cheaper. But if you do want the full check, then yeah, it's probably a little bit more expensive. But for me, like I said, it's just peace of mind. So I hope you found this video helpful, and it's given you a little bit of insight into the world of snagging and what you might find in new build properties, and whether or not you should get a professional snagger. Personally, in my opinion, I'm glad we did. And I would do it again if we moved into another new build property. But of course, it's entirely up to you, and you know, take things with a pinch of salt when it is a professional snagger that you're paying to find problems. Because they will find problems. So let me know if you have any more questions about snagging or my snag report, if you want to see anything else, or if you'd like to see any other house related videos, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and also hit subscribe, and I'll see you soon for another video.